Why time and expense tracking. I'm excited to show you all these things today. We're going to do about a 2-minute discussion of the importance of it, and then we'll get into first expense claims and then time tracking in Acumatica. Obviously, you know the importance of it. Businesses with labor costs want to keep track of time. Tracking employee expenses is very important, and of course, many of you rebill clients. So for those of you who run projects and other where you take the time and then rebill it, you can be doing that from field service. You can be doing it just as part of a regular professional services or whatever the situation might be. Part of what Acumatica's time and expense module is meant to do, it's to help keep things on budget. The real-time nature of Acumatica is very important when it comes to that. Keeping track of potential fraud and inflating expenses, and then also managing overtime pay are other keys to the modules that we've put in place. In some situations, for example, people have used things for personal use, or I worked at a company at one point where people expensed flights that they never took and things along those lines. The entire automation behind Acumatica is designed to prevent those types of things from happening. In addition, we'll see how corporate credit cards make this process easier as we go on throughout the process. And then lastly, just to keep an eye on, the inflation, you can have per diem meals, you can get notifications. It works. The approvals and notifications are a critical part of time and expense tracking. So during some of the demonstrations I'll be doing, you'll see approval maps so that people can go through the process of approving these. And you'll also take a look at how those things all come together with business events, so that if somebody's getting approval, they can make that happen. All right, so let's take a look at expense tracking. As we've already mentioned, company expenses can be entered online using the web interface. While traveling, typically you would use our mobile interface, and we'll be showing you that. Vendor bills, purchase orders, all those are sources of expense entry. The demos today will be focusing mostly on entering these things while you're traveling, because that's usually the most interesting, but we'll also show the UI in some cases. I already mentioned approvals are important. Payments can be made to cover that. We'll show how to pay, for example, your credit card holder when entering expenses on a corporate card. And then employees obviously can get paid for the expenses that they submit that need to be reimbursed to them. So with that in mind, first I want to talk about a new feature that came up in 2020 R1, which is automated expense receipt entry. And for this, I think it's better to start off with a demonstration. So my colleague Nancy Carrere will be starting this off and showing you how it's done, and then I'll come wrap it up. Nancy, can you take it away?
I will. Let me just share my screen. Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Carrere, and today we'll be looking at how to use image recognition to quickly enter an expense receipt. Right now, you are looking at the Acumatica mobile app. In the upper left-hand corner, we have an icon for expense receipt. When you tap on the icon, all expense receipts are displayed. On the bottom left is a plus sign. You can tap on the plus sign to create a new expense receipt transaction and manually enter all the required fields. Many of you are probably familiar with this already. Let's go back to our list of transactions. You'll notice on the bottom right, we have an icon of a camera. We'll use this icon to start the image process. We just tap on the camera icon. Now you'll notice on my receipt, it is for $52.94. And there's also a $10 tip that's been added to the bottom. So the total receipt is $62.94. Now you can use the icons at the bottom of the screen to do things like rotating the image or resizing the image or affecting the lightness or darkness of the image. If you don't like the photo, you can just click on the tap button to retake the photo. And of course, we can always come in here and resize this any way that we would like. And when everything looks good, we're going to go ahead and tap this Done button. And this is when the image recognition kicks in, and it begins to identify information on the paper receipt that needs to be brought into the Acumatica expense receipt. Let's take a look at what happened. The name of the restaurant was pulled into the description field. The date was pulled in from the paper receipt. And you can see the amount of $62.94 is showing, which is the receipt of $52.94 with the $10 tip included. Right up above the amount field, you'll notice we have a required field for expense item, as indicated by the asterisk. This field was not auto-populated, but we can still manually enter it to complete our transactions. This example was an expense for dinner. So we're going to come down to meals and select that expense type. And that completes all the fields that are required to enter an expense receipt. Keep in mind that Acumatica uses machine learning, so the next time an expense is entered for this restaurant, it'll learn from the previous entry and correctly identify the type of expense. And that is a quick example of using Acumatica image recognition to reduce data entry errors and efficiently enter expense receipts. I'll send it back over to you, Doug.
Thanks a lot, Nancy. Very good. So you got to see all those types of things happen, and it just works seamlessly with Acumatica. She happened to show it on an iOS, an Apple device. I use an Android, so it works with either of those. And makes it very, as you see, easy to enter these. So it's key to keep the time that you take entering those receipts down. So one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to take the information that you've snapped on your expenses, and you may want to bill them to a company credit card, or you may want to bill a personal expense to a company credit card, or employees may pay things directly on their own. Right here, as you can see in this last option, where they pay on their own and get reimbursed. Acumatica can handle all these things on a single expense claim. So you can set up your people with corporate credit cards. They can bill things there and do personal expenses, and then it will net out any personal expenses they charge to the company credit card with the claims that they've made that they've paid on their own to create an AP check, to create a check for them. They treat the employee as an AP bill. You'll see also that the expenses that acquired right on the commercial credit card, the corporate card gets sent over to accounting so that we can do a quick bank reconciliation. All this was done in 2019 R2, so if you have that build or later, everything I'm just about to show you is available. So first of all, let's just start off with a quick, here's the corporate card screen. So you'll see under the corporate card, we can attach different people to different cards. More than one person can share a card. So in this case, we have a couple people. So now I'm going to come back over to, let's go, actually, let me take a quick look. Let's see what we've already got set up. So one of the easy ways I get there is my project consultant has a quick link to expense reports. And you can see here's all the different expense claims. So I already have one that I've started that's on hold. We have a couple of, we have a hotel folio we've received with one night and some room service meals. And then I went to the airport store and bought a gift. And you can see over here, those are two company expenses and one personal expense. So now, just to give the overall experience on an Android phone, let me head over to my phone. And you'll see over here, I have expense receipts. Now, Nancy did it the smart way, but just to give you an idea of what happened before, we have this plus button, and I'm going to just create a brand new one. So let's say I was here, and I'm going to use a little speech to text. Uber receipt. Oops. All right. Well, it got a little more than I wanted it to, but accurate nonetheless. Then I go in and I grab what it was. This is some business travel, and I can set up whatever it was. I'll just say $40 for a thing. Now I can also go in here and set a project. I can set up as billable. So remember, it's all very important that you would have some of those. Under the details tab, I can say, well, my Uber's linked to my personal account, not my credit card. And to give a variety of things that I wanted to do, I'll go ahead and add that. So now you'll see that Uber receipt is there and part of it. Now, if I come back over to this expense claim, I could have added it on where I was, but instead we'll go make one more, add and close. And now we've got our entire expense claim all set. And we'll try it one more time without two records updating the same thing at the same time. There we go. So now we've got our expense claim, and you see there's a variety of different things here. And now we'll go into submitting it. Now, when I submit it, it's going to go into one of these approval maps I already spoke of. But we're just going to go through. I'll talk more about approval maps in just a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and just get this through the process. Now, while I'm getting this through the process, you'll see that once everything's created, it's creating a bunch of transactions in the back end, and you can see the status of each line is updated as it goes along. Under financial details, you can see it's created a bill for my employee because it's a $40 bill to my company, a debit adjustment for the personal charge, so it'll net the 40 and the 25 so that the employee only gets paid $15. And then you'll see here's the other charges as well. So now all these expenses have been submitted, but some of them were on a corporate card. So now I want to show a little bit about the bank reconciliation process that goes on and how the corporate card can make your life a little bit easier in terms of tracking those expenses and making sure that everything's entered correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up some different screens in the banking area. So let's go to import bank transactions. That's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to process them. And by process, it basically means we're going to match them to the transactions that we import in step one. And then we're going to go perform a reconciliation statement. So we're going to go ahead and create a new reconciled situation. So let's start with our bank import. So we go to our credit card account, and sometimes you would use a clearing account, and this time I'm just going to use what I have. You can see that my diligence in updating doing my balancing is about a year ago, so I will live with that, and we'll set it here. And then we'll hit this button here to upload it. Actually, let me save things first, and then we'll go upload. Now I've strategically positioned a text or an Excel file. It could be a text or a CSV. We also take other bank files as well, and we're gonna bring it in. All the fields you see, I set it up so I didn't have to do any field mapping, and this is what comes in that we basically want to go ahead and match. Now, on my ending balance, let's say on my statement, I have $155 ending balance. I hit that, and now we're off and running. So those are, you can see I had a balance earlier, so that payment was made a long time ago. And then here's my 3 transactions on my expense receipt that I just imported. Okay, so now we need to match these. We want to match these to existing transactions in Acumatica. So for that, I go to the Process Bank Transactions screen. And here I'm going to go select my corporate credit card. And you can see the system already knows the types of transactions that are linked. And using a set of match settings that you can configure, it'll apply different weights and it'll apply matches depending on whether or not whether it matches the criteria. I'm just using the default criteria. So based on that, I'm going to hit auto match, and you'll see here where it matched one payment. It matched all these types of transactions that you see here. Now, when I process this, it's basically going to take all those, and it's going to, all these things that were checked, and it's going to prepare them for reconciliation process. So let's go do that next. So I come over here to my reconciliation process, and I'm going to go hit a new reconciliation statement. I'm going to reconcile my corporate credit card. My statement balance was minus 150. again, and I'm going to go hit, and so you'll see here all 4 of these transactions have already cleared, and you can see there's some other things that are listing out here in our demonstration data that were not that have not cleared or been matched yet. So because those have been entered into the system, they show up, but they're not matched, so I'm not going to worry about them right now. So I'm going to hit this reconciled process, and it'll reconcile these, fill in my balance, and now I can go ahead and complete this process, and I'll be all ready for the next time I log in, where the reconciliation date will be up to date with today's date, and I'll be ready to go. So that's a little bit about bank reconciliation and showing how the expense process ties all the way from start to finish throughout the entire situation. So we went basically from entering a card receipt to all the way to submitting the expense claim to getting things verified on the back end. So that's a little bit about expense reporting. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to work on time tracking. Time tracking is also time tracking is included. Expense reporting, by the way, there's a module that you can purchase called Expense Management that comes with all those features that we just that I just showed to you. So that's available for purchase. Time tracking is included with Acumatica Financials, so you already have all of those things that you need to do as part of your core subscription. Now, the most important things about time tracking, we've done a lot of work on this recently. It's got to be easy to use, most importantly, and we've added a number of other interesting things. So crew time entry, linking things to a particular job or project is important, and those are some of the other considerations. Within time tracking, we use it for a number of things. We use it for payroll. You can use it to bill clients. You can track profitability and budgets as well. So once again, these all work hand in hand with our information that we have in business events to throw out warnings and to monitor data in real time. If you're going over profitability, if you're going over your expenses for a project, you want to get notified immediately. So once again, the importance of a real-time system is evident there. So for time tracking, we're replacing this old thing you see here on your right with a new mobile interface that takes care of everything in a more automated manner. So we're going to show a situation where we're going to enter some time, and we're going to do it in a couple different ways. We're going to enter time first as if we're out on a job doing something on, for a field service application. And then we can also do things using things if we wanted to do it manually as well. So I'm going to switch back over to my system here, close down some of these screens, and we're going to get ready to go after some time. So let's start off with, I guess I want to start off with showing the assignment and approval maps, because those are very important to everything. So we'll go to assignment and approval maps. I've created a new one here called time card approval. And you'll see you can enter any number of steps of approval. So this is a relatively simple one. I have 2 steps. So the first one, I have project time approval. What project time approval does is it goes through all the detail lines of your time card, and if there's an actual project mentioned, in other words, it's not the non-project code, then it's going to require that one of the project consultings or the owner of the project, in this case I've just selected a single employee, go approve that. After the project people all approve it, so that you haven't gone over budget for a project or over billed, then it goes to the manager. So the manager always comes in and has to approve it. And you can see we have these different options we select here, so that now the employee's supervisor goes through the second round of approval. So I have a 2-step approval process here where I can go through and do that. All right, so let's go through and actually enter one. We'll go to an employee time card, and we are going to create a new one. Actually, we'll pick one we're going to do, I don't want to do the administrator, I'm going to do David Chubb. So we'll see if he's got one. Actually, let me make sure he doesn't have anything out there already. does. Now he's got 2 of them. So we'll go delete this guy real quick. That was for the next. I knew I was in trouble when I saw the time frame was the following week. All right, so in here, we have a blank time card that's all ready to go. And we'll start off as David Chubb's going to be out working on a service appointment. So we'll go to our services menu and we're going to go create a new appointment. Now I'm going to try and go through this pretty quickly. The point is not to demonstrate a services for you. The point is to show how time and material time tracking can come in from all types of different places within the system. So we'll start off with, I'll just call this a quick appointment. How quickly I can get through this. Do a backup service, save it. Normally I would go do a nice scheduling using my scheduler. In this case, we're just going to enter David Chubb as the person that's responsible for that. Okay, so now one of the things about time tracking that's very nice, and this is a relatively new feature in Acumatica, is now there's travel time that's included as part of your appointments. So in this case, I can go start my travel. Now I can do travel. If I had a whole bunch of team members here and they were traveling together, I could start that time for them. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to back this up a little bit. We're going to say they started traveling, and we're just going to fill out this one person. This can all be done, by the way, on the mobile device. In the interest of time, I'm just cruising through it in this manner. So now we've gone ahead and we've started the time tracking. When the person goes ahead and gets to their appointment, there's another action called complete travel, and this will go ahead and start my appointment. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish that quickly. So now my person's gone and they've recorded time against that. And you'll see as in over here in the log, you'll see that the data backup has started and we're starting to work against our anticipated 2 hours of work now that we've arrived on site. And because I backed up the time, we have 24 minutes of that, and that's already been completed. So if I sneak back over here to my time card and refresh things, I haven't completed the appointment yet, so it won't show up. Sorry about that. So let's go in and complete the appointment. And this will, hopefully I've talked long enough, good, that we got at least a minute to roll by, so we have something to show there. We'll say that we're finished with that, and we'll close the appointment. So those are all, now my appointment's done. So all those details have been logged here, and they've automatically been transmitted over here. So we have this time that's been pushed over to the employee time card. Looks like I missed the one, but that's okay. So now all that's been recorded from there. Now let's say there's a different scenario that takes place as well. So let's go back I'm going to go back to my mobile phone, and this time I'm going to log in as David Chubb, and we'll sign in. And we're going to go find the time entry area here. So we're going to go down to employee time cards and click that. And you'll see that I've already got a time card here that's been entered. And we'll pull that up. So you're going to see basically the same thing I'm showing here is also there. If I go down to the details, you can see I can go enter time from my mobile device. Just like Nancy added an expense receipt, I can add some type of activity here if I need to as well. So let's go ahead and do that. And once again, we can do text-to-speech, some project-oriented time. And we'll scroll down, say we spent, see if I can flip this up. We'll do 2 hours there, hit that. And now we're going to go enter a project. Now, the importance of entering a project is that the project's going to trigger that other condition that we had. So we'll go ahead and we'll just have an internal project there. We'll go ahead and approve that. All right, so now we've gone ahead and entered. You can see that's just how we go ahead on the time card and entered data in a different way. So we've gone in once through the project, and then we've gone in the other time through there, and you can see everything ends up in the same place through the same approval channel. So you can go in if you wanted to and see how things look here. And now we'll go through the process. So let's go ahead and submit that. So now I could have done this from my mobile phone. I would have been able to, but now I'll submit it, and it goes into pending approval. So now remember, because a project was specified on this particular line item, it triggers Martin Bernia. Now, Martin happens to be below the administrator in the food chain, so I can go approve this without logging in as him. Next, you'll see that now it goes to David Chubb's boss, Clark Willard, because everything's been approved from a project standpoint, but now we need to go in and approve it as his boss. So once again, if I had the need, I would go in, log out, log back in as Clark Willard. A notification could appear on my dashboard, mobile phone, SMS message that something is pending my attention and needs my approval if I was Clark Willard. And all those things can be set up, as I said, on business events. So that's the process of going through and showing how multiple different locations within Acumatica all file through to the employee time card and then go through a logical process to get approved. So those are some of the different things that you can use in terms of time and expenses in Acumatica, and shows how it all works together in unified workflows. Some more information is here. You can see additional information about, here's some videos, the travel time I showed for field services here, the corporate cards demonstrations also available. And then, of course, if you have feedback about particular items, we're always welcome to take your ideas at the feedback site.